So, if you're someone who follows college football recruiting closely, there are certain truths that become evident. One of those truths is that flips happen everywhere. Just like I talk about with the transfer portal that no institution is safe from the transfer portal's reach, so too is the case for flips. There's no college out there that's safe from having a prospect flip. Now, that being said, there are certain colleges where flipping a prospect from them is much more difficult. And today, we need to talk about Florida State flipping a prospect from somewhere it's not easy to get a successful flip from, as the Florida State Seminoles flip the #1 tight end in the nation, 5-star tight end Landen Thomas, a Georgia Bulldog commit, and he's from the state of Georgia, something we've got to discuss. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited that Mike Norvell and company pulled this major flip off? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And this is a massive win for Florida State. Just like I alluded to in the intro, there are certain programs that flipping from that college, it's really tough to do for a bevy of reasons. And when we look at the Georgia Bulldogs, where do you want to start? Take your pick. First and foremost, the development that happens over there, it's at the highest level of college football. There's only a handful of colleges that can boast the same level of development as the Georgia Bulldogs. Secondly, the way they're winning right now, coming off of back-to-back national championships, and whenever you look at the roster, they're poised to go on a run again. So getting a flip from Georgia, if you're Florida State, that is a massive win. But one thing that stood out to me before we really start diving into who Landen Thomas is how successful Florida State has been in recruiting the state of Georgia. Because Landen Thomas is now addition number 5 for Norvell and company out the Peach State. Joining Cameron Davis, Luke Kromenhoek, and I'm so sorry if I butchered that last name, I think I got it correctly, but once again, sorry if I didn't, BJ Gibson and CJ Hurd. So what this tells me is that Norvell and company are bullish right now. They have no fear going into anybody's backyard and recruiting successfully. And getting a flip of this caliber is always notable, because it's not just like you got a guy from Georgia who's a high-ranking blue-chip prospect that's been committed to the Georgia Bulldogs. No. You got the #1 tight end in the nation, a top 5 player in the state of Georgia, and a top 25 prospect in the nation, as Landen Thomas comes in at number 24 in the nation. And furthermore, we know what Georgia does with the tight end position. They have been tight end U for the previous few years, and that doesn't look to change. Brock Bowers is going to be a nightmare for defenses once again, and they've got a lot of depth outside of Brock Bowers. If you are Georgia, the silver lining here is that if there was a position you could afford for a 5-star guy to flip, it was probably tight end with how much depth you've stacked there. Now, that being said, you would have loved to have kept Landen Thomas, and I have no doubt that Kirby Smart and company will continue after Landen Thomas. He's a 5-star guy, a position that you utilize a lot, and he's in your own backyard. Why wouldn't you? But this is a massive win for Florida State. If you've been around the channel at all, you know how much emphasis I put on the tight end position. I think it's one of the most important positions in the game of football right now, and when you look every level, tight ends are being utilized. You look at that Super Bowl. Go back and watch the tight end play. You look in college football right now. Look at some of the most potent offenses we've seen in the past few years, and look at that tight end position. I'm not saying they all have a dude there, but there tends to be a theme of someone that they have some sort of faith in that they can get the job done. Because tight ends do so much for your team, and there's such big mismatches in the current era of college football, the offensive era that we're in. So for Norvell, going out there, getting a 5-star tight end is awesome. It puts the Florida State recruiting class in the top 5, and the goal here is to finish as a top 10 class. I think every Florida State fan would be over the moon with that, because if you can build on what you did last year, continue that this year, and sign a top 10 recruiting class, Florida State's in a really interesting position, and so too is the ACC as a whole. I, for one, am very curious about several institutions in the ACC, and Florida State, they may just be at the top. I can't wait to hear from Florida State fans. I think it'd be a lot of fun to try and get a Florida State content creator to come on the show to talk with us about the current state of Florida State. talk with us about the future, what they're excited for, what they're worried for. I just think it'd be a good time. So I'm going to try and see if I can find someone. If you have any ideas, drop it down below. I'll reach out, make it work, but it'll be fun. Until then, drop your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking about this edition. I know you're over the moon. How couldn't you be? But super intrigued about hearing from all of you. That's it. See ya.